Did you give a fuck about affirmative action, or you don't give a fuck about
He
it?
said he don't.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I just was
What
mad.
about you? You gave a fuck about it, or you don't?
No, I give a. I
Okay.
think it's like for me, it's
You know, the people who benefited most from affirmative action wasn't even black people.
Really, the fight against affirmative action wasn't white people. It was Asians and the Indian demographics.
gotcha.
They overwhelmingly outtest everybody. If they go purely off merit, the look of it ain't gonna be white anyway.
Right.
To be clear, I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action. I went to a
This
school
one I
no one
put
had
in.
ever heard of in Denver,
Okay.
Colorado, in a small suburb. I didn't go to Exeter or Andover.
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
have college test prep. I just happened to be really nerdy and smart and have really good grades and good SAT scores.
Right.
But someone came to Denver, Colorado to look for me. A Harvard
Right.
recruiter flew to Denver, and I met up with her at the Village Inn restaurant and did a pre-interview to get to pull me into Harvard. I was pulled in, and the schools like Harvard and
Affirmatively.
Yale that I
That's
got
the-
into affirmatively.
Yes.
And it was literally not saying we're going to take an unqualified person and put them
Right.
in Harvard.
Yes.
We're going to take a very qualified person who we would never know existed and put them in Harvard. That's how I got there. That's how Ketanji got there. That's how Justice Jackson, I should say. Justice Jackson got there. It's how Clarence Thomas got there.
Right.
But the minute I arrived from my majority black little town, Montbello in Denver, to Harvard, the first week or two that I was in class, my presence was questioned by white people. I was in this big conference class where some white students stood up and said, those students, the black students, they're only here because of affirmative action. It became a huge argument that we all ended up having. This was freshman year. I had never had my academic credentials questioned. I had never had anyone question whether I was intelligent until I got to Harvard. And it was a defining point of my experience there. It's why I really was one of the many reasons I was miserable there my freshman year.
Yeah.
You feel completely out of place, and people keep telling you shouldn't be here. And yet, some of the people I went to school with were far less smart than me or the other black folk there. They got in because their daddy and their granddaddy. I went to school with somebody whose name was on one of the buildings. You're going to school with people whose names are on the buildings, who are third and fourth generation legacies.
But here's my thing with the affirmative action thing. I got a couple points. You know, the people who benefited most from affirmative action wasn't even black people.
Yeah, it was white women.
It was white women. So I don't understand why this is. You know, why they've got black people up there all up in arms.
Voting time.
Exactly.
That's part, yeah.
Exactly. Also, the second thing.
Well, I mean, we also have been like as a community, we've been led to believe that it was for us.
Yeah, but it's just like anything. They gentrify the movement, and then the systems they put in place, supposedly for us, get taken advantage of by other groups, and they ended up benefiting way more than the systems that are supposed to be put in for black people. So I don't really care that much. Number two, a lot of the motherfuckers who were beneficiaries of affirmative action, what do they do for the black community anyway? Clarence Thomas was he went to Yale because of affirmative action. And then what he go do?
What did he go do?
Well, I mean,
He's just he's just one of the most, I'd say, like conservative, or just anti, just he doesn't do anything to help black people.
well, I mean, at the same time,
I gotta look up his voting.
I mean, at the very minimum, I'd say that if he has a family, he's put his family in a position to take generational wealth and all of this shit to the next level.
Clarence, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much
Yeah,
about it
real
myself,
good
but I mean,
parents.
at the end of the day,
Clarence.
right?
Clarence had a very happy
Good
marriage.
Yeah.
But like he just, I don't know, and it's, I don't think he know worse than any of the, no better than any of the Democrats.
The way I looked at the
he's bought
affirmative
out
action,
though. He's bought out. Like even right before all of this
can
stuff,
understand that.
he just got a whole bunch of money for a house.
Mhm.
He's his wife isn't of
You gotta go ahead, get your Clarence Thomas smoke off.
yeah, he got some for him. He had a clip,
his wife don't look like us.
so he married to a white woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, so it's just every chance you get where he could come back and throw a bone, he just turned his back.
Oh, he
Yeah.
big Uncle Tom.
Big Uncle Tom.
Okay.
And so I think, but that's what you get with a lot of these affirmative action black folks, people that got in these places. They end up.
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. They're placed in an environment that is predominantly white or non-black. So I
Yeah.
mean, didn't we even to Q's previous point in one of the other pods was that you pretty we're gonna be with people who are in close proximity to us. So that could be the very reason why. And I'm not giving this nigga an excuse because I don't even know him. You know what I mean? I'm just basing off of what you're saying. I'm not. You know what I mean?
I don't know enough about him.
I'm
He just
being
wrote
fair.
record.
We're being fair
I
right
get
now.
it. I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
Life ain't fair.
Life,
Nah,
right, right.
but all right. So I didn't really get understand your perspective. So did you give a fuck about affirmative action, or you don't give a fuck about
He
it?
said he don't.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I just was
What
mad.
about you? You gave a fuck about it, or you don't?
No, I give a fuck. I
Okay.
think it's like for me, it's I can see both sides. Like even in me and Tone had a conversation about it. Initially, the first reaction is to be hot. You know what I mean? First reaction to hear affirmative action, which I didn't know the beneficiaries of the let's say overwhelming beneficiary of it was white women, but it makes sense. The hijacked the movement, all that. I get that. I didn't know that part, but initially it was like, oh man, they done, you know what I mean? And where the conservative side comes out first for me, the conservative side. So they just letting, you know what I mean? The initial was, oh, so they just letting people in that don't, you know what I mean? That just didn't have the merit to be there. But then come to find that ain't what it was. You know what I mean? You had to have the merits to be accepted. It was pretty much like what she was saying. You know what I mean? Like an outreach program to find the ones that fit the criteria that we just not able to see. You know what I mean? And so to me, it's like, okay, damn. Well, I don't think at the end of the day, I don't see what good it does for anybody for them to do away with it. What is the you know what I mean? What is the benefit of anybody for them doing away with it?
Well,
I,
it's elitism. You know, it keeps the elites elite. You know, they don't have to open those doors, or they don't have to let them people in. It ain't even about like race, because like they got a whole bunch of different things
Yeah, but
now, but it's about
their
elitism.
benefit is what did they keep the school white?
Or
the school ain't
or they
really
keep
white.
the doors closed. It's
No,
gatekeeping.
well, all right. So, you threw to a part that I hadn't thought about, and I think, well, one, I don't give a fuck about it.
Mm,
But I think it will be interesting to do a 10-year study
mm.
now that it's
You see what
going
it
and
can.
see who gets in,
Mm.
because of really the fight against affirmative action wasn't white people. It was Asians and like the Indian demographics,
Gotcha.
because of they couldn't get into these schools because they overwhelmingly like out test everybody, and just percentage wise, like they would have been the predominant group there just based off of scores
Right.
and testing and X, Y, and Z. Like, so if they go purely off merit, the look of it ain't gonna be white anyway.
Right.
So that will be the interesting piece to see.
Mm.
If they do kind of just that. My other side to it that I sit and think about is that, all right. Well, you said what could happen. I think maybe, possibly, hopefully, we can get better candidates at HBCUs. Some of
Mm.
these like rogue scholars, these high tech, like we can actually start getting these minds into the culture and going through the process of the culture, in which I think that could be a benefit. And then I'll close out by saying, I've never been an advocate for going places that you're not wanted.
Yeah, not for sure.
So if, as she said, I'm smarter than y'all niggas, and y'all are saying I'm
I'm
unqualified, and
Yeah.
y'all holding town halls because I'm here. But I done out tested you. Like my high school scores from start to finish is better than you.
Right.
My extracurriculars show that I need to be here. I should be here.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to deal with this just to go to class. I don't know. To me, like it draws me back to like a further black conservative point of where did I really care about segregation at the highest level of which I do? Was it a positive or a detriment to us to an extent?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, that I'll leave it at that.
But here's my rebuttal. Like because I don't really care about it neither. And I think, like you said, I think if you take it away, it will lead to like I think us maybe consolidating our talents together more. But my thing is I can agree with the action, but disagree with the reasonings behind it.
Right.
And so and that's what some of it's to me where
And what click? So what was the reasoning that you believe it was because of?
Well, I mean, well, because I think they're saying that African Americans are getting unfair, or that, well,
So
no,
who is
no,
the
no, no.
they?
Let
And
me.
what? Because it passed because
it was a
Well, no,
liberal.
let me be clear. Let me be clear. What I'm hearing and the parts that I got mad about were like white conservatives that were that were saying that white people are being discriminated against, and this is a win for white people, that white people will no longer be discriminated. And that's the part where I just disagree with it on just fundamental. And those are the
oh
ones
no,
that
I get it,
I
but I
get
guess
hot
are
about.
those the people that actually passed the like? I want to give like a fair perspective on it of why it's being passed and if I like it or don't. It would have to be based around why the actual legislation said that it's being passed, and I'm pretty sure that they didn't say because of black people are in Harvard too much. There's not even that many black people in Harvard, but that's more or less what I would hear. And
If you're talking about
in a sense of
strictly
like the
the case,
discrimination case that I've heard,
the case, yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
it's usually the Asians and the Indians that are like saying that affirmative action actually discriminates against them.
You're right, but
Damn. It was a Democrat lady who was the craziest thing is that she was trying to defend affirmative action, but then she was pretty much like she ended up shitting on pretty much saying that black people aren't able to get in off of their merit alone.
and that they need affirmative
That they
action
need, yeah, that we need affirmative
because
action
we're not
because we're
smart
not
enough.
smart enough to actually get into school off of our own merit. And it was crazy because she actually like started out like trying to, she was on the opposing side of getting rid of it, and then it was then she was a Democrat. Yeah, she was a Democrat. I was like,
And she was like, "Well, shit, I guess we got to get rid of it."
literally just called us slow while trying to be on our side at the same time. I wish I could remember her name. I
I
was just
mean,
trying to look it up. I
She was
can't
white or
remember.
black.
She was white.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, I
think
think
that's more or less like the limousine liberal shit, right? Where these are the people that feel like they're doing what's in the best interest for black people because of we can't do or like
Yeah.
we're helpless or whatnot, and so like they'll throw a couple dollars just to make themselves feel good.
Bet about yeah. I find it funny that she just like you're. That's crazy, bro.
yeah,
We have to rethink this whole idea of the whole Democrat shit, bro. We
well,
have to rethink this
Oh, listen, all right, so
at
that's
mass scale.
we
this
might
my
not get
whole
to it
point.
this
Yeah, this is
episode,
my whole point.
but one of these upcoming episodes, I got a question, and my question will be, what would it take for you to vote Republican? Now, we can shelf that
That's
right now.
one. That's one. Actually, that's potable.
Oh no, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
potable.
That's why I said I done stewed on that. But I got a couple
I
of
like that.
them ones that
Like
just sitting there.
like in 2024.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
election coming up,
Yeah.
that's a great conversation.
Audience,
Yeah.
what would it take for y'all to go Republican? I ain't been Republican or Democrat. I've been
She gotta
independent.
have-
Yeah, right.
But I think
Yeah,
it'd be fun to
I've been
tap into.
coerced
And she-
into voting Democrat for for a little while now. I ain't gonna say coerced. I talk to old head all the time, and then he talked to his mom, my grandma, about it before. She passed recent, but they used to talk about the politics and stuff. And
Here's another
it's just
thing.
been that
Might have to
Democratic.
bring old
It's
head
the
on
same
for the
thing,
for
but I
the
swear to
episode.
God, it's like the same thing as everybody. Which again, I'm not saying anything negative towards Christianity, but it's like the default for black people. Like you just say it even though you don't do anything, you don't believe anything, you just say it. It's like the default answer to the question. I'm not saying that that's a bad default. I'm just saying that these things are just passed down to us, and we just go with it. It's like zombie mode.
I got another
and then
question.
they just
I got
propagate.
another question. What would it take for you to stop voting Democrat? Like what would
Oh,
is it something they could do? I mean, is they or do they got like an endless leash? They could do whatever.
I think the
And
crazy
So
thing.
we about to get into this right
Listen,
now.
No, I'm just saying that's another question
Hey,
to add on
yeah,
to
to
it.
add on to.
That's
I'm just about to
another
say that.
question
Yeah.
to add on to it. We ain't got to get into it now, but I think
Alright.
that question, I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
All right, Tone, give us something else.